Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us for this live webinar today covering Catalyst New Homes' top property hacks. I'm Jade Turnstile from Share to Buy, and I'll be hosting today's session alongside Joe Farrington and Sam Cox from Catalyst. However, just before I pass you over to our guest speakers, I wanted to run through some quick housekeeping with you ahead of the session. Firstly, our speakers are going to run through their presentations before opening up to a live Q&A session, which will last around 10 to 15 minutes at the end. So if you have any questions for our experts, please pop them in the chat tool to the right-hand side of your screen, where you'll see an icon with a couple of little speech bubbles, and we'll get through as many as we can at the end of the session. It's also worth keeping an eye on the offers and documents tabs on the right-hand side, as we'll be sharing some content with you to engage with throughout the webinar, so some downloadable content and some links. And today's session will also be recorded and shared with you, so don't worry if you happen to miss anything along the way. We'll make sure that you have access to the recording after the webinar has ended. So that's pretty much it for me for now. I'll be back at the end of the presentations for the Q&A, but in the meantime, I'm going to pass you over to Joe and Sam from Catalyst.
Excellent. Thank you, Jade. It's good to see you again and great to be back for another webinar. Hello, and thank you to everyone else that's joined us. We're going to be sharing our top 5 property hacks designed to make it easier for first-time buyers to get on the property ladder. My name is Joe Farrington. I'm a senior sales manager at Catalyst. I've been helping people in the property market for around 12 years now and currently work across a range of Catalyst developments in London.
Thank you, Joe. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Cox, an area sales manager at Catalyst. I work with Joe, also overseeing various different developments in London, where we currently have a range of homes available through shared ownership and Help to Buy. We also deliver a range of developments across the home counties and Oxfordshire, from one-bedroom apartments to large family homes. So we really have a home for every buyer. This evening, Joe and I are going to be talking through our top 5 property hacks for first-time buyers, based on our experience of helping hundreds of people get to the property ladder. Buying your first home can feel daunting. However, we're here to show you that with the right guidance, you can make the process much smoother.
Thank you, Sam. So to kick us off with our first tip, research your different buying options. As a first-time buyer, you have a range of buying routes to choose between, and deciding the right one for you is an important first step in your journey. 2 of the most popular schemes for first-time buyers are shared ownership and Help to Buy. Help to Buy is a government-backed scheme which helps first-time buyers purchase a home outright. Through Help to Buy, you could need just a 5% deposit for your home. This is then topped up by an equity loan of up to 20% if you're outside London, or 40% if you're buying in the capital. It's worth mentioning that this equity loan is interest-free for the first 5 years. A mortgage is then required for the remaining amount, and for a home to be eligible for Help to Buy, it must be new build and it must fall within the regional price caps. In London, that's £600,000, and for other regions, this is slightly lower. For example, in the southeast, the cap is £437,000. We've also got an example on the screen just to show you how it works. So if we take a property that is valued at £200,000, you would need a 5% deposit, which is £10,000. The 20% equity loan would be £40,000, which means you need a mortgage for the remaining 75%. So in this example, that's going to be £150,000. I'm going to pass you back over to Sam now, who's going to give you a quick run through on shared ownership.
Thank you, Joe. Shared ownership is a part buy, part rent scheme that allows you to purchase a percentage share of a property and pay rent on the remaining portion. The minimum share can initially be 25% and up to a maximum of 75%. You only need a deposit and mortgage for the share you are purchasing, which makes the scheme a more accessible route onto the property ladder than buying on the open market. As you can see on the slide, we've worked an example for you. So if you were buying a 25% share of a £400,000 apartment, your share is £100,000 with a 5% deposit of £5,000, and then your mortgage required would be £95,000. As and when you can afford to, you can purchase additional shares in your property for a process which is called staircasing. As you purchase greater shares in your property, your mortgage will increase and your rent will decrease until you own the home outright and do not pay any rent. As you can see on the screen, we've got a current overview of our developments across South East England, so you can get an idea of our regional spread. The black developments are shared ownership, teal is help to buy, and purple is market sale.
So moving on to our second hack, and it's talking to a financial expert or a financial advisor early on. Once you've done your homework on Help to Buy and shared ownership and decided which one you think might be best for you, we really recommend arranging an appointment with a financial advisor to go through your specific finances and work out exactly what you can afford. A financial advisor will go through your savings and your outgoings with you and ascertain what you can borrow. They'll also be able to advise on whether they think shared ownership or Help to Buy could be the best purchasing route for you for your particular situation. Obviously, that's going to be dependent on where you're hoping to buy and what you might be looking to purchase. A couple of key phrases which may come up when speaking with a financial advisor is deposit and mortgage. A deposit is the amount that you're going to need to have available in savings before exchange of contracts and completion. You would normally be expected to put down about a 10% deposit at the point of exchange. The mortgage is a type of loan that you will need to purchase your new home. You will need to apply for this via a bank or building society. Most financial advisors, though, will be able to do this on your behalf. For shared ownership, you're going to need to apply for a mortgage that covers the share you are buying minus your deposit. With Help to Buy, you're going to need to apply for a mortgage that covers the total value of the house minus your deposit and the equity loan.
Thank you, Joe. So our third hack is to set your budget. A financial expert will be able to explain what you could afford. It's then up to you to decide what you want to put towards your home. You may want to put all your savings towards your deposit and spend a decent portion of your monthly income on your mortgage in order to get the best property possible for your budget. Alternatively, you may want to reserve some savings for a holiday fund or give yourself some extra leeway on monthly payments. A few costs that you might want to take into consideration when setting your budget will include your legal fees. You will need to instruct a solicitor when buying your home, so you need to take into account their fees, which will usually be between around the 1,000 and 1,500 mark. Your mortgage fees. Often lenders charge a range of fees, for example, to set up your mortgage and to carry out a valuation. However, others include their fees within the total mortgage costs, so you don't have to pay any upfront fees. But make sure you do read the T's and C's so you know the situation with your chosen product. Also, doing up your home. You may wish to save some money for home improvements like refreshing the carpets and upgrading appliances, through to more substantial investments like an extension or a new kitchen. But one of the major benefits of new builds is that you won't have to worry about this. Every aspect of your home is brand new, so there's no need to worry about keeping money aside for these works. Over to you, Joe.
Oh, sorry, Joe. I think you might be on mute.
I told you I'd do it at some point. So the fourth hack is taking the time to view thoroughly. It's a life-changing purchase that you're about to make, so it's really worth spending the time to research your future home in detail. We've come up with a checklist of things that we think you should consider when viewing. So I'll go through these step by step. Exploring the development thoroughly. If you can, take a walk around the development and get a feel for the neighborhood that you're potentially buying into. It gives a great indication of how well looked after that site is, and also an idea of who your future neighbors might be. If there's a show home, look beyond just the design. Although it's great to see how you could lay things out, you also want to focus on some of the finer details. For example, what's included in the specification, what kitchen appliances are included, and the specification of the kitchen itself. things like ceiling heights, width of hallways, and a really important one is storage space. If you're buying off plan, make sure you take a good look at the floor plan so you get a feel for how that space may work and how you will look to use your home in the future. You can also go and look at previous developments from that developer to see what their end product looks like. If you come to any of our sites, you can ask the team if we have any other local developments, or alternatively, you can go onto the websites. Outside space, over the past year, this has become one of the biggest priorities for lots of our homeowners. Balconies and gardens make a big difference to a home, especially when those summer months come rolling round and the sun eventually decides to come out. It's also worth considering communal space too. So many of our developments feature shared gardens, which are fantastic additional spaces that you're free to use. It's a great opportunity to get together with your neighbours, or just simply using for taking the dog for a walk. Local transport. So even if you're working from home, transport links are still really important. So depending on what your needs might be, find out the nearest options, be that on the tube, the train, or by car. If you're new to the area, it's always worth testing out those transport links at different times. So travel at peak, off-peak times, weekdays as well as weekends, so you know exactly how well connected that place is. Parking. Parking's a premium in London, as we all know, so it's a really important thing to consider. Is it something that is an absolute necessity for you, and are you then happy to pay the premium for it, or is local transport going to be good enough, so much so that you might not need a car? Retail, find out your local shops, do some research on your shopping supermarkets, where's your local cafes, what sort of restaurants, pubs, bars, whatever it is that you've got around you. Schooling as well. Do you need to consider schooling? Even if you're not planning for children or don't have children yet, it's worth seeing what your options might be in the future. There's lots of really good tools online now that make it very easy for you to check the performance of those local schools, but also the requirements for entry. Reputation of the developer. We at Catalyst are really proud to be on Trustpilot. We've got a score of 4.6, which reflects the experience of our purchasers. So it's worth researching the developer that you're looking at and you're potentially buying from. And your best bet is probably to go on something like Google, or you can go on Trustpilot and actually search the company name there and see whether they've got a Trustpilot account as well.
Thank you, Joe. So here's a good starting point if you're in your early stages of your property hunt. We have a video tour of the Folium in Muswell Hill, which is one of the sites I'm lucky enough to be managing. So have a watch of this video. It's going to give you a real good flavour of the typical Catalyst home. So our fifth and final property hack is to plan your move in advance. The move into your new home will be much more seamless if you do a good amount of preparation. So our top recommendations for this are planning your furniture. Think about what furniture you're bringing and what you might need to buy, and take a look at delivery times. Some furniture can take months to arrive, whilst other bits can be delivered overnight. It's worth getting yourself sorted in advance so you don't end up sleeping on the floor for the first few weeks. Your removals. Make sure you've prepared the help you'll need to move all your belongings into your new home. You'll probably want to prepare a van, and you might also want to call in your family and friends to help assist. It's also worth getting organised with different boxes for different rooms, so when you arrive in your new home, it's easier to unpack. If you're using a removal company, it's definitely worth reading their T's and C's thoroughly, so you aren't shocked with any unexpected costs. And most important one, a box of must-haves. You'll probably be exhausted after your house move, and the last thing you want to do is scramble through every box to find your toothbrush or your bedding. So reserve a box or two to fill in the morning of the move, and put the items in there that you'll need on your first evening. Your services. So most new builds are plug and play, which means that older services and wiring you could need are already installed. It's just a case of turning them on when you move in. However, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do some research before completion. It's worth looking into your energy providers so you can get yourself a good deal. You can also find out which internet providers are available in the area so that you're online from day one, which is extremely important as most of you are probably working from home now. Some of our sites have the luxury of coming fully fitted with hyper optic already, so you can sort out your Wi-Fi very easily on those developments. And it's also worth speaking to your existing suppliers to let them know of your up and coming move and see if they can continue their service in your new home.
Thanks, Sam. So that wraps up our top 5 property hacks. We hope you found them helpful. At this point, we thought we'd share some of the reasons why so many buyers enjoy purchasing with us at Catalyst. We offer a fantastic range of incentives across our developments that are designed to make it easier for you to get onto the property ladder. A few examples of those include things like your deposit, legal fees, or moving costs paid, as well as furniture packs at some of our select developments. Secondly, we're here to help you around the clock, both in person and virtually. We're always very happy to arrange face-to-face appointments in one of our marketing suites. Alternatively, we can also arrange virtual appointments over things like Microsoft Teams or FaceTime if it's more convenient for you. We've also recently launched live chat function on our website, so you can talk to one of the sales team whilst navigating through the site. We'd now like to share with you a video from one of our recent purchasers who actually bought off-plan with us at the Switch in Wimbledon.
Hi, I'm Alex. I am a trainee solicitor. I'm 25 and I'm from London, and I have recently purchased a 1-bedroom flat in the Switch in Wimbledon with Catalyst. As soon as I saw the brochure of the Switch, I saw just how spacious it looked, as in the actual property itself, but the fact that it had a balcony on it and just being able to have access to outdoor space without having to travel quite far distances, whether or not it's your own private balcony, and being able to overlook the landscape gardens or being able to actually enjoy the landscape gardens that the Switch had cultivated, just to make the outdoor area a really lovely space, particularly in London, where it's a privilege to have that kind of space available on your doorstep, yet alone as part of your property. As soon as I saw what the plan looked like and from the brochure, I saw that the flat itself was going to be very high spec, and it was just going to be a very contemporary, modern looking kind of flat. And that is just something that, is really important to me. My first property, I want it to be something that's new and fresh, and I'm the first person to live in it because it's my first home, rather than see someone else's home and try and make their home work for me. So buying it off plan kind of meant that I can put my own stamp on it, and I can just create what I want from the space and not be impaired by seeing someone else's life in that space.
So finally, as a thank you for attending today, we have a range of special incentives on our new homes for buyers who reserve over the festive season. Depending on the development, you can enjoy a mix of different Christmas gifts, from stamp duty contributions to a year mortgage free. So get in touch with one of the sales teams at each of our developments and find out what they're offering. That does wrap up our presentation today, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. And I really hope that you found some of those tips really helpful. and we'll be happy to take some questions.
Hi, thank you, Joe and Sam. That was amazing. Lots and lots of information there. And I can actually see that you've already kind of answered some of the questions as we've been going. But thank you so much for that. We'll jump straight into it because we have quite a few questions to get through. So to start with, we have one here, which is how long does the whole process take from first inquiring about a property to actually moving in?
I'll pick that one up, Jade. It really depends on the development you're looking at, as well as your own personal circumstances. So if you're viewing a property that's ready to move into and you have all your finances in line, then the sale itself can progress from first inquiry through to completion in 6 to 8 weeks.
That's incredibly quick. I guess it's just one of those things that, you need to be aware it can take a little bit longer, because of credit checks, hiccups along the way, that kind of thing. But great to know it can be so speedy as long as you've kind of got all your ducks in a row.
Absolutely, yeah. It's all about that. As we said at the top of this, it was all, that first step, getting yourself in that right position can really help that process move quite quickly if you want and need it to.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And next question, can I use Help to Buy and shared ownership together? So combining the two schemes?
No, you're going to have to choose between the scheme. You can't be used together, unfortunately. The key difference between them is that with Help to Buy, you're purchasing the entire property, but with shared ownership, you're purchasing a share in that home. Obviously, that gives you some flexibility to buy, to potentially go on and purchase a larger share in the future. So as mentioned earlier, again, it sort of starts back with that financial advisor, depending on what you're looking to purchase, where you're looking to purchase, which one's going to fit your needs. But speaking to that financial advisor quite early on is going to help you decide between the two options based on your own individual situation.
Perfect. And I actually can see quite a few kind of mortgage related questions, deposit related questions, finances. So for anyone asking those, what I would recommend is doing exactly that, speaking to a mortgage broker, financial advisor. They definitely be the people kind of more able to help you on that side. If you need more information from them on Shared to Buy, we actually have like a mortgage broker panel. You're welcome to have a look on there and contact the guys on there as well. Perfect. Next, are there any criteria for shared ownership properties, such as living or working in the area, family ties to the area, that kind of thing?
Joe, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can go again, as I was just talking about shared ownership. It can really, it varies, Jade. It depends on the development. It depends on the borough that you're looking to purchase, or, which county you're looking to purchase in if you're looking outside of London. So it comes down to doing that research, speak to the guys that are on site. They should be able to tell you whether there is any criteria or nominations period. There is obviously some basic criteria or eligibility. So earnings under £90,000 as a household, and you can't own or part own any other property at the time of purchasing.
Perfect. And I did see a couple of questions actually about general eligibility, which you've kind of touched on there, which is great as well. Loads of questions coming through. Thank you, guys. It's like being a bit of a swarm here. A couple of questions actually regarding kind of minimum and maximum age limits, and whether that would be the case for shared ownerships. Do you have to be a certain age? Are you capped at a certain age? That kind of thing.
Age-wise will be dependent on the mortgage term, really, won't it, Joe? So for shared ownership-wise, minimum, no particular age range that starts it off, but it would just be down to what sort of term on the mortgage you can get for the share that you're going to be purchasing.
So much of that is going to be dependent on the deposit you've got or the earnings as well. So again, best place to start. I'm passing a lot of these questions off, Jade. These are fantastic. I'll pass them off all to somebody else. The best bet is, again, start with a financial advisor. If you speak with them with regard, they can look at your earnings. They can look at what income you've got, what your outgoings are, and what you're looking to put down as a deposit, and really help you understand what you're going to be able to afford to do. The one thing to note with regards to the upper end of sort of the age part of things with shared ownership, you still have an option to buy, even if you're maybe not in a position where you can get a mortgage. You are able, in special circumstances, to be able to purchase your share in cash if you can afford to do so, but you're still going to need to have the income to take into consideration your rent and your service charge.
Perfect. And just good for everyone to know as well. So for any mortgage term, you have to be at least 18 years old. So if we have any 16-year-olds kind of in the audience that are keen to get out of mum and dad's, I'm afraid it's a couple more years till you can buy. And as well as that, on the kind of upper age limit, there's also older person shared ownership, which is a very similar scheme to shared ownership. A lot of the same kind of underlying features, and, you know, still often part by part rent, that kind of thing. But sometimes it comes with kind of like a cap. You can only buy up to 75%. And that's for usually people over the age of 55, I believe. So again, like the guys have been saying, it's all about doing your research and figuring out what's right for you. You know, would shared ownership be more beneficial? Help to buy older person shared ownership. So if you're 55 plus, might be worth looking into that as an option as well. Perfect. I'm just going to look here, just sifting through to see what we're having quite a lot of questions on. If I wanted to sell my shared ownership home, what process would I need to follow? So how would that kind of work with Catalyst?
So when it comes to selling your shared ownership property, initial stages there'll be a process through Catalyst as such. We'll have a nomination period where we try and sell the property. Once that nomination period is then up, the owner of the property is entitled to go to the open market. So it's not very difficult and very accessible. So
yeah, the first place to start is to speak to, you know, with Catalyst, for example, you're going to have a home ownership advisor. So contact Catalyst first, speak to them, and they'll be able to give you the, you know, how that process works and what's going to be expected of you, and then what's expected of us. Everyone is slightly different, or housing associations can be slightly different, or your provider might be slightly different. So you've got to start with speaking to them. Normally they're looking for 6 to 8 weeks initially to possibly find a new purchaser for your property.
Great. We've had a interesting question here. If I buy through shared ownership, can I have a lodger? Can I have someone living with me?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You need to let us know at the start of the process if that's your plan. But actually, yes, you're absolutely free to get a lodger. And again, if it's something that comes about after you've purchased the home, most providers will just ask that you notify them, and they take the details of, or take the information that they need from that. But yes, the short answer is yes, you can have a lodger.
That's good. And I guess the main thing to remember there is with shared ownership, you have to be an owner-occupier. So you can have a lodger live with you, but you can't move out and sublet, that
Yes.
kind of thing. So just
Correct.
bearing that in mind, if you are thinking of kind of taking someone in, you then can't move out yourself. Perfect. We've had a couple of questions kind of around what is service charge and what that covers. A lot of budget calculators outline the fact that service charge is included. So what does that cover, essentially?
I'll pick this one up, Sam. It varies from site to site, and I suppose the easiest way for me to try and explain it is it's a host of services that you're going to be paying for in a single monthly payment. So that's why it can vary depending on the site that you're purchasing and the services that might be included in that site. For example, things like concierges, that's going to have a big impact on service charge. But generally speaking, you're looking at the cost of cleaning and maintaining the internal and external grounds of the property. If there's any gardens, you're talking about landscaping and maintenance there. Lift maintenance. Also, one of the big things or one of the main things within a service charge is also going to be a sinking fund, and that's to cover the lifespan of potential things on site. So things like boilers or plant rooms. Items in those areas only have a lifespan of X number of years. So you need the sinking fund will help plan towards the future of replacing that, rather than suddenly a great big lump sum being requested from you to carry out any major work. So it does vary, but it's the easiest way to explain it. It's a host of services that are going to be provided for you on that site that will be managed by your managing agent, and it normally takes into account things like cleaning, maintenance, etc.
Perfect. So yeah, essentially that service charge is covering all communal areas, especially like if you're in a kind of big London development with lots of flats and landscape gardens and stuff like that, whereas the shared owner would be responsible for what's inside their property. Obviously, a lot of them will have warranties on kind of like boilers and stuff like that, and some like workmanship in the building regs and stuff. but the service charge is essentially covering everything outside of your front door.
Buildings insurance as well. Most service charges are going to cover buildings insurance.
Perfect. And then along the same kind of vein, do you still need to pay rent and service charges if I end up buying 100%? So if I staircase and become the outright owner, do I still have to pay rent and service charge?
I'll pick this one up, Joe. So as you staircase, in general terms, your mortgage would increase and your rent would decrease. You'll then get obviously to the 100% mark. So you'll just have your mortgage for the 100% value, no rent, but yes, you'll still pay a service charge because you're still benefiting from the services.
Great. Let me just have a quick look through. Loads of questions coming in. Thank you so much, everyone. I can see there's kind of a few questions around buying off plan. I know you kind of touched on that, and your case study bought off plan. So essentially, can I buy off plan? Where do I find out about Catalyst developments that are available off plan? Over to you.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. You can buy off plan. Buying off plan has become a very, very common practice when purchasers are looking to get a new build property, and probably one of the best options, because you can study the floor plan, the area that you're going to be purchasing, and you can have the pick of the first plot before anyone else can see it and the general public come and see it. So you'll find all of our off-plan developments on our website, and you can visit our marketing suite, a show apartment, so you can get an understanding of the size, the spec, and the finish. And then you can really analyze and study the floor plans and work out which one suits best and just have a pick of the bunch. So yeah, you definitely can.
I can see a couple of people asking, what is off plan? So essentially, yeah, sorry, we didn't cover that. I just went straight in with it. But it's, am I right in thinking it's essentially just a property that hasn't been built yet? So like you said, you look at kind of...
It is what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're just looking at the floor plans. Depending on what site you're on, you're going to have virtual tours, models, spec areas, spec samples, etc. But essentially, you are buying from looking at a plan.
Yeah.
And a lot of buyers, sorry, Jade, a lot of buyers find it more exciting buying off plan because you can see your process of what you're buying. So you can see it from the start of the build, and you get regular updates and yeah, until that final product's ready for you. So it's an exciting process.
So you're kind of there from the very, very, like the inception almost. You kind of see your floor plan and you get to watch every single bit of your house being built or your flat being built, which is lovely. I did see, we've got time for a couple more questions, guys. I did see one on the off plan was essentially someone asking, can you choose spec? Like, can I choose what flooring goes in, what kind of kitchen units go in, that kind of thing? Can you personalize?
It varies. It depends on where you're buying, and what that setup is when you're buying off plan, how far in advance, dependent on the builder you're purchasing from. Not with a lot of the Catalyst homes, that spec has already been decided, and it's already been, ordered off. So there's not many options to change, but that's not the same for every single scenario. So again, speak to the people on site and you can always ask the question and they'll tell you exactly what that process is and whether that's an option for you.
Yeah, like I've seen some people kind of say, oh, you can pick between two kitchen specs, like you can have black counters or you can have wood, that kind of thing. So yeah, exactly that. Definitely worth talking to the provider.
And in some cases, for example, one of Sam's sites, the Folium in Coppice-Wood, that actually has across its 1, 2 and 3 bedroom apartments, that has a few different types of kitchen in the same type of property. So although you can't necessarily specify your own choice, and pick it off the shelf, there are some different options that might pick your fancy a little bit more. But also, one thing you do want to consider when you're buying off plans, you're not caught unawares, is, are things like your carpets, floor coverings and stuff like that, are they included? With all Catalyst homes, all of our flooring is included, but some don't.
Yeah, perfect. Let me just have a look here. So, Sam, you mentioned decorating your home, like pulling up carpets and adding an extension, but are there any limitations to what you can do renovation wise in a shared ownership home?
Oh, good question.
Big question.
Renovation wise, Joe, you'll back me up on this. internally, it's more of a process of approaching Catalyst and saying, this is what I want to potentially do. This is what I want to change for shared ownership, and yeah, making the changes from there.
Yeah, I think we actually covered something very similar in one of our previous webinars with regards to, can you put your own stamp on your new shared ownership home? Absolutely. You're buying that home. The providers of those homes want you to make it your own home and for you to stay there as long as you wish to stay there. So, things like that are really important. You're going to want to put your own mark on it. So in most cases, you're just required to notify that third party as to what you want to do and what you would plan to be doing, and then they will come back to you and let you know whether that's agreeable.
Perfect. So yeah, with shared ownership, I think it is a big misconception that you can't decorate because it's still part by part rent. But especially anything cosmetic, painting, hanging pictures, hanging artwork, that's all like green lit. You can just do that. You can paint it to your heart's content, every color of the rainbow for whatever your preference. But yeah, I think it's sometimes the bigger stuff can, like you said, require some permission from the provider, because actually if you start ripping up flooring in the kitchen and you have underfloor heating, it could actually cause kind of a knock-on effect, that sort of thing. So it's just making sure that your provider knows and they give you the green light and you're good to go with it. Perfect. And we'll end on this one, which Joe has done many a webinar, so has heard this question probably every time, which is, can I have a pet? So dogs, cats, this question we get every single time. We're a nation of pet lovers. So with Catalyst, can I have a pet?
Yes, you can. We've got a flexible, it's as easy as that. We have a flexible pet policy, and you can have a pet in practically all of our developments. It's always worth just double checking with the sales team when you do inquire, but there's a flexible pet policy.
Perfect. And I think, again, with this, it's very much, contextual. So if you're in a top floor flat and you want a house cat or like a lizard, that sort of thing, that's not really going to cause much ag. But if you did have, say, like a massive Rottweiler, something like that, then, potentially there could be, they need to speak to you guys or whoever the housing provider are. Whereas if you're out in the county somewhere and a house have a big garden, it's not usually such an issue. It's just double checking. But great to hear that you accept pets, because I think that's always a big thing for people.
It's changed over the years, that's for sure.
Definitely.
100%. So I think we're going to have to call it a day there, because you guys have been talking for ages. Thank you so much. What I am going to do is just pop up a slide with your URL for Catalyst Homes. So if anyone has any other questions, they can find out more from you there. In the meantime, that's kind of it from us for now. I just want to say a massive thank you to Joe and Sam for joining me today. You've done a really great job, answered loads of questions, and also a massive thank you to our viewers for sending so many in. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of you, but between the Share to Buy website and the Catalyst website, I'm sure you'll be able to find plenty more information about what you're looking for. And like we said, for those people asking the kind of financial questions, deposits, we've seen a lot of those coming in today. Mortgage brokers, mortgage advisors, they'll be your best bet. They'll be able to answer any questions you have there. If you'd like to be kept up to date with any future webinars, you can create an account with us at sharetobuy.com, or you can keep an eye on the Share to Buy accounts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And that's it from us for now. But thank you again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.